Welcome into episode number 71 of the Hippies and Cowboys podcast. It's a special episode today. We have three guests all combined into one episode of the podcast, and we will be doing this episode to help promote some content coming out from Healing Appalachia that's put on by Hope in the Hills out of West Virginia. I'm going to read to you a little bit from the Healing Appalachia website about what they do at Hope in the Hills and with Healing Appalachia. And this is from healingappalachia.org. Drug overdose is the leading cause of death for people under the age of 50 in the United States. The Appalachian region has been dramatically impacted by the opioid and heroin epidemic. West Virginia has the highest rate of fatal overdose in the nation. The causes for this epidemic are complex. Many sources point to the economic decline and continuing loss of decent jobs through ongoing deindustrialization that has particularly impacted the region. Multiple legal settlements from drug companies to states and local units of government verify that pharmaceutical opioid marketing and prescribing practices set the stage for opioid and later heroin addiction. At present, addiction-related charities receive around $25 million in private funds annually. This is in contrast to $390 billion given to all charities based on Facing Addiction and Giving USA 2016 data. This is approximately 0.000006% of all charitable funds raised. So with Hope in the Hills, they're an organization out of West Virginia that raises money to donate to facilities and put on programs to fight opioid addiction in the Appalachian region. They put on a music festival every year. Their first year was 2018 and again in 2019. And unfortunately for 2020, they weren't able to have a festival, obviously due to COVID. And so coming up on Friday, February 12th, 2021 at 8 p.m. Eastern time, they will be playing a concert stream from 2019's festival with some never before seen footage, including the full set, 90 minutes from Tyler Childers and the Food Stamps, as well as highlights from other artists, including Brian Fallon, Arlo McKinley, Sonora May, and others. In between the musical sets, there will also be interviews with Hope in the Hills founders, Charlie Hatcher and Ian Thornton, and Margaret Moore, PhD, who organized a pilot project in music-themed forward-facing trauma therapy for Hope in the Hills.
We're obviously very excited to help promote this content and Hope in the Hills and Healing Appalachia. But one other very exciting thing that we're doing with them is they've been generous enough to donate a few things for us to raffle off, with all of the proceeds going towards local charities for Garrett and I. So we'll talk about, we'll give you a rundown of what charities we've chosen, but what we're raffling off is a signed poster from Tyler Childers, a signed Midwestern vinyl record from Arlo McKinley. We have a 2019 Healing Appalachia concert poster and a $50 gift card to Tyler Childers' merchandise website. And then we're also throwing in merchandise from our own store at Hippies and Cowboys. So this bundle
That's all one prize bundle. One
person
will get all of that.
Yes. So for $25, you get a ticket to that, and you can buy as many as you want, and the winner will take home all of those items, which is pretty outstanding. And all of those funds will go towards the two charities that Garrett and I have chosen locally.
Yeah, so starting off, I guess, with the charity that I've chosen here in Alberta, I guess if you want to call it a charity, it's Addiction Treatment Center here in Alberta. It's called Poundmakers Lodge Treatment Centers. It's pretty close to where I'm at here outside of Edmonton, Alberta. And what they do is they focus on primarily Indigenous folks who have been caught up in addiction, and rehabilitating them and getting them back out into society using some traditional practices and focusing on Indigenous culture and spirituality for the clients. Here in Alberta, the numbers are pretty much night and day when it comes to especially opioid addiction. When you talk about First Nations people compared to non-First Nations people. An example of this is in 2018, which was the most recent data I could find, the rate of emergency department visits per 100,000 people due to opioids for non-First Nations people was 217 per 100,000. And for First Nations people, that number was 1,683. So obviously, addiction is something that doesn't discriminate. It doesn't see color. It doesn't care who you voted for. It doesn't care about any of that. But here in Alberta, unfortunately, opioid addiction is a bigger problem for folks in the Indigenous community. So that's kind of what went into making this decision on my behalf as to where this money is going to go here at home. And yeah, I guess that's kind of the rundown.
Then on my end, so half of the funds that we raise from this raffle will go to the Iowa Harm Reduction Coalition, which is a relatively young nonprofit here in Iowa. That was started by it's community-based nonprofit that kind of there is a group of people that addressed the need, not just for addiction help, well, kind of a lot of the needs that come along with fighting addiction. So hepatitis, HIV, and then kind of along with all of the other addictions that we see across our state here in Iowa. But the overall focus is to make Iowa safer and to save lives of people who are battling the disease of addiction. And one thing I took from their website is they said if you donate, so they kind of threw out some examples of where the money goes, and they used the example of $100 goes to enable 20 Iowans to reverse an opioid overdose and save those lives. So if $100 can save 20 Iowans from opioid overdose, then a $25 ticket could be five lives. So just one ticket into this raffle could really give multiple people a second shot at life here in Iowa. So that's where the money's going on the Iowa end. It's called the Iowa Harm Reduction Coalition.
Yeah, so Mike and I would both really like to thank everyone at Whizbang Booking and Management, everyone at Hope in the Hills and Healing Appalachia, everyone at Oh Boy Records, Arlo McKinley, Tyler Childers for donating these items for us to raffle off and being kind enough to, first of all, think of us in helping them promote this stuff, and then of course giving us the opportunity to donate to some local organizations that need it. So
right.
That's all really, really cool opportunity for us, and I know we're both, as Mike said, really excited about it. So thanks so much to all of those people. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody, but Anyway, let's get things started. Our three guests on the podcast today are Charlie Hatcher, Ian Thornton, and Arlo McKinley. We'll start things off with Charlie. Charlie is one of the founders of Hope in the Hills and the music festival. And I don't have to do too much explaining here because we kind of go through the entire origin story of the organization and the music festival and everything else with Charlie here. So thank you all for tuning in. You can go to thehippiesandcowboys.com and enter that raffle. The winner will be announced the day before the stream on February 11th. So get over there and get entered into the contest. I guess not a contest, sorry, a raffle. Get entered into the raffle. You can have a chance to win that unreal prize bundle. And just know that every dollar that we make from this raffle will go towards a great cause. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for entering the raffle in advance. And I hope everyone is able to learn a thing or two from this episode and help make a difference themselves. Thanks for tuning in. All right, sitting down with us today is Charlie Hatcher from Hope in the Hills. And of course, they put on the music festival, Healing Appalachia. And Charlie's just joining us today to tell us a bit about it and hopefully give everybody some information about the festival and the purpose of the organization and all the great work that they do down in the Appalachian region and beyond. So thanks for sitting down with us, Charlie. We appreciate you doing this, and we appreciate you guys thinking of us to help you get the word out.
Hey man, anybody that'll listen, we want to tell them.
That's great. Yeah, man. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty good feeling, and it's I think I speak for both Mike and myself in saying it's an honor to just be a part of it, and hopefully, like you said, get the word out, right? So.
Yeah, man.
I guess like what might be a good place to start here is just if you could maybe, I guess, give everyone a little bit of background information about both the organization and the music festival, and kind of tell like the origin story behind sure. Both, if you can.
Yeah, man. So it all goes back, man. I grew up here in southern West Virginia, in the heart of Appalachia, which was hit with a direct shot from the opioid epidemic. We were primarily working class, what do you call socioeconomic base here that was targeted by, pharmaceutical companies because everybody down here worked in the coal mines and the steel industry, the energy industries, and they all had good benefits. So they all had insurance. So it was this new wonder drug, it was going to save everybody's backs, and it did. And then it got them all hooked. Then it got their family hooked, and then it got their children hooked, their grandchildren, preachers, their brothers, their mothers, their cousins. It's everywhere. But I'd had enough of watching. I come from a small single A school, Fayetteville High School, class 95. Woo-woo. A lot of my friends they passed on. People I grew up with, people I've known all my life. We just all kind of went separate ways, and I've had a lot of them come back too, man. Boy, I've had some real surprises come back, and they're 5 and 10 years clean now, and just some of the most awesome people. And that goes to show too that recovery works. Mm-hmm. And
right.
But anyways, this all started out, man. I was trying to help a friend of mine. I'd never met her son. She had an older son that had suffered with addiction issues for 5 to 6 years, I believe, and he had actually just returned from a 90-day program in California, and she was concerned that he was sliding, it wasn't working for him. And so she called me and asked me if I'd help her find him some rehab. And my friends that have gotten sober, some of them are really big figures in the sober community and are able to help me, guide me through those paths to get them directly into help that they needed. And this was on a Friday. found out there was nothing that could really happen until the following week. And he passed over the weekend. And I got a phone call from a friend of mine to tell me that, they didn't need the bed. And I was on a fishing bank. I was fishing on the Greenbrier River when I got the call. And they just, like I said, I don't need the bed. He's gone. And had enough.
Yeah.
How many got to die? Yeah, I mean, how many people have to die from this? And that's basically what I said to myself. What can I do to be a part of, someone finding that second chance or figuring out that they do have self-worth and that, you don't have to get stuck in this. So I started, I've done a lot of shows, concerts, book clubs, played in bands, been involved in things for quite a while. And I called my good friend Ian Thornton down in Cabell County, which is equally it's just as bad as where I am down here in Greenbrier County, quite possibly even worse. And I just told him I have this idea, man. I think that if we can use our connections throughout the music industry and talk to people that trust us and trust our opinions, and that we can pull off a quality show that can actually make an impact. And he said, sign me up, man, let's do it. So he and I started digging deep and how we're going to put this whole thing together. We formed a board of directors for our nonprofit. I think this is 2021 now. I think we actually formed in 17. It took us quite some time to get this thing moving and off the ground because, none of us knew what we were doing. on that side, that's why we created one of the greatest boards ever, because we surrounded ourselves with folks that, they know what they're doing. I'm the dreamer of the bunch, the one that has the crazy ideas that people either say, wow, man, that's a really good idea, or you thinking, man. So it's great. We've got a great board, man. And we put this thing together. Our first concert was actually in 2018. We partnered with the West Virginia State Fair, and they're super good partners. They're here in Lewisburg, West Virginia, where I live, and they donated the use of the property and labor, and just they're great partners in what we're doing. And the first year we did it, I was thinking, man, if we have 1,000 people show up, you got to call this, we're doing something, right? But 2,400. Then year two, which would be
crushed
2000
your expectations.
Yeah, it completely blew us away. And then 2019 rolls around and we get into that one, and man, we sold, I think it was 6,000 tickets in 3 hours. And then the balance of it, we decided to just shut ticket sales off. There was 7,000 tickets sold for that event. We had approximately 8,500 people there. One of the things we also do is we want everyone that wants to come to this thing but may not be able to afford it, not to feel that they don't get left in the dust. We don't leave anybody behind. So we invite a lot of the recovery houses and sober living houses and folks that are doing the hard work. Come on in, man. And a lot of them in turn say, hey, what can we do for you? And that's how we're able to pull off these big events through the volunteers and one of the hardest working boards that this is a great group of people, man. Everybody's like-minded. We're laser focused on trying to help people, man. The mission of the whole thing is to end addiction in Appalachia. It's a lofty goal, but somebody's got to try.
And
that was one of my next questions, actually, is just like, what were some of the things, like right at the beginning, that you guys set out to do with both the organization and with the festival, I guess? All these questions are going to kind of be two-parters, because there's obviously the organization itself and then the festival on top of that, right?
So as an organization, what we started out to do was to be able to get money directly into the hands and watch it work and see things, see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
And the through quick action and through the labor of the board, like I keep referring back to this board that we have, man, this board of directors is great. We have that ability to move quickly, to where we see a need, there's a hole, let's fill it. We've done some great work here in Greenbrier County. There's a facility here that works with mothers that are addicted. We were able to bring them enough finances to get up and going. And what they do, man, they do acupuncture in your ear. Yeah. Yeah. And they've got another method that they work with infants with turnip seeds. And if you've ever seen an infant that's born addicted, man, you never want to see it again. It's a sight that never leaves your mind. You can't get away from it. And the fact, and here's another fact, we've got a whole generation of these folks coming up. We don't know what the long-term effects of being addicted to opiates are in utero by the time you hit 40 years old. These are the people that are going to be making the decisions for us when we're the older people that, well, need decisions made for. And
Right.
this addiction, this disease, it touches every aspect of life you can possibly think of. And it's not pretty. It's not political. Nobody wants to talk about it because everybody's got someone in their family. If you're in Appalachia, everybody, I don't care who you are, you have a cousin, a brother, somebody is addicted in your family or has suffered from addiction. It's just the way it is. And it's not pretty. People don't want to talk about it. But, you know, this board, we've put money, we've sponsored beds in Louisville, Kentucky, Huntington, West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia, Beckley, West Virginia. We've done some work down in Kentucky, a couple spots in Kentucky. This board has created a new music program that goes, we create the program, we send the curriculum, we send the teacher, we send the instruments, we send it all down there. When we first started it, Maggie, the lady that runs it for us, she didn't think she'd have that many of the folks in the rehab facility sign up. And she's thinking maybe she had 10. All 30 of them participated and went all the way to the end. And the feedback that we got from that of these guys and gals being able to talk through their problems through music, that's a big deal too, man. And then the event, you know, the main idea of the event is to basically raise awareness and raise money that we can put into action. We've got a granting process. We're working on getting grant applications up on our website. You know, I mean, we just doing the best we can, man.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, the impact that you guys have had, and just from everything that you've said. And I guess one of the reasons that you're talking to us here is you've already made such a big impact in Appalachia. And you said obviously the goal is to end addiction in that region, which is a lofty goal. But something that just you guys are working your best at, as you said, and kind of what us being brought into is A, to spread awareness, and B, to kind of expand that outside of that region too.
It's not just dedicated to us here in Appalachia,
Right.
man. It goes way out there. It's in every state. It's just here in West Virginia and Eastern Kentucky, out of any other geographic region in North America, we've had more deaths per capita. That's just crazy, man. There's not a lot of people here either.
And I think an important point, like for anybody to take away from this, you know, from this podcast, from what you guys do, from the festival, like you said, is, you know, you can't reach those goals and you can't make a difference if the awareness isn't there. Right.
Right.
So if you can even reach, you know, if you can reach anyone from doing stuff like this or whatever it may be, like, I just, you know, as you were talking there, I was just thinking to myself, like, it's not something that's, I don't think it was always something I was aware of. And, you know, even here at home, like it wasn't something that I guess I put a lot of thought into until we had this, you know, we had conversations about doing this podcast and whatnot. And in the time since we've started to set this up, like it's really something that I've done, you know, quite a bit of research on now. And you really realize how close to home it actually hits when that's all it takes. Like you said, is just that awareness now is it's
if it's out of sight, out of mind, you don't
exactly right.
You're not thinking about it. And like I said, it's not political, so it's not pretty, so it's not something that people want to talk about. It doesn't make the news as much as it probably should. You know, you can compare opioid deaths and just not even just opioids, but addiction deaths.
Yeah.
The COVID numbers.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly right. Like I had that written down. That's maybe a good point a good spot to plug that in there, is like I had written down, like I had read just in the time since COVID-19 had began, like in early December here in Alberta, we had 904 on the year 2020, 904 deaths due to opioid, whether they were suicide or accidental, 904 deaths due to opioids. And in comparison, I couldn't find any numbers from early December, but we right now, currently in late January of 2021, we have 1,500, just nearly 1,600 COVID deaths. Yeah. So, I mean, that's some pretty comparable. Staggering numbers, like pretty comparable. Exactly. And it's just like you said, since it's not the hot topic of the day, like nobody really wants to talk about it. But I think something that you definitely wanted to talk about too is the fact that, you know, those two things kind of go hand in hand, because people are cooped up at home. People are losing their jobs due to this pandemic. And, you know, there's a lot of factors that play into, you know, those numbers, and those addiction numbers skyrocketing basically due to the pandemic as well. Yeah.
If they were to put the suicide numbers on top of that, I bet you're damn near close to neck and neck, man. You know, suicides have gone through the absolute roof right now because, you know, being in quarantine doesn't do well for one's addiction, and it sure doesn't do one good for one's psyche. You know, so if there was a underlying mental illness, which, I mean, it's pretty prevalent within the world of addiction as well. It's just compounded by that. And then the anxiety and everything just, I had a dear friend of mine's brother pass away just last week. He hung himself. Overdoses that are within my circle of people, just since Christmas 4. I mean, it's crazy, man. It is very staggering. And then, you know, got other friends who have other friends that aren't really a part of my circle. I'm hearing them, man, you know, I just had a friend overdose and die last night. Oh, dude, sorry. You know, it's bad, man. And another thing that's not pretty either, but there's more grandparents raising grandchildren right now than there's ever been, man. It's the foster care system. I don't know about, you know, the whole thing, but I can speak for West Virginia. Our foster care system is overburdened, man. I mean, it is so overburdened. And you just, my sister used to work in the foster care system, and she got out of it, I think about 7 years ago. And they used to maintain 3,000 kids. They're maintaining 5,000 kids now.
Wow.
That's crazy, man.
That's something that, you know, when you hear people talk about the opioid crisis or anything related to that, that's something that typically you're probably not going to think of. You know, you don't think of all the underlying effects that
the chain reaction of events.
Yeah, the chain reaction of events that sets in motion when you have a crisis of this level affecting an area like that is.
And industry shutdown here, you know, West Virginia plays a big part in the energy sector. And, Closing of coal mines, man, that's poverty breeds addiction. And the coal mines closing down, the steel mills closing down. I mean, it's just, it's hard, man.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to watch a place you love so damn much absolutely just fall to bits. But
yeah,
there's bright spots. There certainly are. I don't want to sound all doom and gloom, because there's some definite bright spots and some really good men and women out there doing the hard work. And that was what we want to support.
Yeah. And that was kind of, I was going to segue into something a little bit more cheery too, is how the support from the artists that you've gotten with the festival seems to be pretty overwhelming, with Tyler, and you can go down the list of all the artists that have been donating their time and voice kind of to help you guys out also.
Well, Tyler was one of the first ones we approached about this. Him growing up in Eastern Kentucky, he's no stranger to this. He knows, and it's like I said earlier, everybody in this area has got somebody, and it was a thing that really touched his heart, and he felt that this was a cause that he wanted to get behind, and put his 2 cents in, man. And he busts his ass for us. He's a genuinely great guy, man. He's simple, nice fella. And he's dedicated himself to helping us with this cause. And I'm forever grateful to him. I'm grateful to him as an Appalachian, and grateful to him as a friend. He's done a lot for us, man. He really has. And just his notoriety brings a lot more notoriety to the issue. And as he has grown, he's championed Appalachian causes in every aspect of what he does right now. I mean, he's a big part of what we're doing, man. And like I said, I can't thank him enough.
Definitely. And maybe just kind of going back to something you had said, like you said, you don't want to be all doom and gloom, but it's a tough topic to talk about. Especially if you are somebody who's had whether it be opioid addiction or any kind of addiction, touch your life in any significant way. It's a tough topic to talk about, because it's not things that you really want to, kind of bring back. But even if you haven't had something like that touch your life, that's again where that awareness comes in, and it really, it's important for people to hear those stories and, be empathetic to those situations that maybe they're not, they've never had to go through.
This podcast this podcast is called Hippies and Cowboys, man. I'm gonna throw you some hippie side here. I still am huge Grateful Dead fan. Okay. A lot of my friends, man, growing up, we started going to Grateful Dead shows in the late 90s, 93, 94. I picked on around 94. A lot of those guys I took off with in the beginning, man, they've passed on because of this. But you ask why you do things like this, and I'm going to tell you, because there's a handful of these hippies that I started this journey out in music with that are alive today, and that's why I do it. I mean, I've got friends I grew up with, man. My one buddy, I met him the first day of preschool. I'm 43 years old. He's been sober, I think now 9 years. He's one of the greatest guys in the world, man. And him, and there's multiple other ones, man, that I could rattle off. I don't want to say their names, but they're such good people, and they're the ones why I'm in this, man, because of them.
You guys are doing incredible work, and like I said, I can't thank you guys enough for letting us be a part of just spreading the word, and I hope we can change some people's minds about addiction, and maybe get them to go down a rabbit hole about their own region and kind of learn more about it, find out how they can contribute, that type of thing. I guess to wrap things up, like one last question on maybe ask you, or what are some highlights as far as significant contributions that you guys have been able to make as an organization, and where would you like to see, Hope in the Hills kind of go in the next, what are kind of some future goals at this time?
Some of the things the achievements that one of the ones I'm really proud of is this music program that we've created. We hired a psychologist here in West Virginia. She's developed this program, and we're seeing successes with it. And it was a pilot program that we plan to get out into other recovery centers. To me, that's one of the biggest accomplishments that we've made. Another one is, being able to bring 8,500 people together and listen to a person tell their story, and you hear a pin drop in the room, man. It's heavy, man. There's some of the heaviest. I hadn't cried so much as a grown man in one day as the first year and the second year, man. I mean, some of these stories that you hear, like you said, they relate back to you. And you'll see that in the rebroadcasts that we're going to have coming up.
Right.
There's a couple of those stories in there, but we also have people come up and tell their stories in between sets. Another memorable moment is watching Justin Wells drop 2,400 people from the stage with his big voice. He thought some people were acting up and a fight was starting, and he stopped the whole show. He goes, "Hey, buddy, we're not going to do that kind of stuff around here." And everybody went, "What?" And it was nothing. I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
But it was a good call on his part. That was a very memorable moment. Where do I see it in the future? COVID's been a tough one, man. It's really kicked us in the pants, but we're going to bounce back from it, and our goal is to create a bigger show. We think if we can get more artists involvement, more sponsor involvement, we would expand to 2 days. And in the big picture, I'd like to see this be an event that's able to move around Appalachia, because it ain't just happening here. This thing can go anywhere in Appalachia and everybody's going to get it. It would convey. So I guess maybe those are my goals, man. They're maybe my personal goals. The ultimate goal of the board itself, it is to end addiction, man, in Appalachia. You can't do it if you don't try, if you don't set the goal and go there and get it. My grandfather, man, he owned a music store, and he always said, "Boy, you can't sell a Martin D41 if you don't stock it." So if you're not going to try to do something, you'll never reach your goal unless you stick yourself out there. And that's why I can't thank the artists enough that participate with us, because they stick their necks out there, man. They're saying, "Hey, man, I get it. I'm with you." All those guys and all these guys over here, Kelsey Walden, Justin Wells, the Wild Rumpus, Half Bad Bluegrass Band, Tyler Childers, Brian Fallon, the Gibson Brothers, Arlo McKinley, Sonora May, all these people, man, they stuck their necks out. They backed us. They believe in what we're doing, and I hope everyone can, man.
Right. Well, you guys are doing an awesome thing, and like Garrett said, we are honored that you thought of us to help with it in any way we can. And I'm glad that we're a part as much as we can be, and really appreciate you coming on and doing this with us, and everything that you've helped us get involved with. We're grateful and honored to be a part.
Hey, man, thanks for jumping on board, boys.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. Well, I guess thanks a lot for doing this, Charlie, once again. And everybody, I guess we'll steer everybody to the website, I assume, is probably the best place to go.
Yep.
Which is...
You go to our website is www.hopeinthehills. And then you can also hit us up through all social media. we're everywhere. You can find us as Hope in the Hills or Healing Appalachia to stay up to date with what we're doing and how we're expanding and how we're growing. And if anybody has any questions, they can always email us through the website. If you've got a need that you see in your area that maybe we can help, we don't know, send us an email. We'd love to talk to you.
Awesome.
Great. Well, thanks
man.
again, Charlie. And
thanks, fellas.
everybody.
All right, moving right along. Now sitting down with us, we have Ian Thornton, Vice President of Hope in the Hills and owner/founder, I'm going to use both, of Whiz Bang Booking and Management, of course. And Ian, thanks so much for sitting down with us for a few minutes here today and talking a bit about what we got going on here with you guys with Hope in the Hills and Healing Appalachia. And as I said before, just thanks so much for letting us be a part of it. And yeah, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us and showing some more support there. You know, something like this can grow and reach as many people as possible, and you know, have the ripple effect out to what is what the initial intention was. So it's great. Thanks for the support.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things here is you guys have started something so amazing over there in your region of Appalachia, West Virginia, and just us you reaching out to us to be a part of this, and it's cool. We're honored to do it, and you have such an impact in the music community and with this too. So it's really nice to get to sit down and talk to you and pick your brain a little bit about all the cool stuff that you get to do.
Yeah, man, I'm down.
All right.
I guess let's start. Might be a good idea to kind of just give everybody a bit of a background story, or just some context as to how you originally got involved with Hope in the Hills, and kind of what you've been able to contribute so far, and kind of your role, I guess, currently.
Yeah, Hope in the Hills and the idea behind it, like the Healing Appalachia. Charlie Hatcher came up with that idea initially. Where we come from in our region, not unfamiliar to many other regions, but in particular where we are, the opioid crisis, and which obviously leads to other narcotics and unfortunate abuse of it, and it's rampant where we're from. We've seen a lot of friends pass away, a lot of people I went to high school with and grew up with, and I think Charlie had brought it, kind of hit him after he had lost a close friend. And I think the idea behind it is what do we do? At this time I was managing Tyler and Tyler was, we had Purgatory out by that point. And so, things were really starting to cruise for him. And, I'd started the Huntington Music and Arts Festival back in 2010 and done, what I could with local community and regional music up to that point. And Charlie doing the same. We kind of sit there and thought, like, what is it that we do? What can we contribute? What can we put together to try to see how we can help, combat this or help out or help those in need or whatever it is. And, ultimately we came to the decision that we're good at music and we're good at organizing events. We have connections with a lot of great musicians and talented people, a lot of people, and this has touched, everybody that's been involved in some form or fashion. So yeah, Charlie came to me there probably about 3 years ago now, and we just started kind of spitballing ideas, and came to the idea of starting a nonprofit with currently the main focus being basically a music festival of sorts. It started with a one-day concert. That's kind of where it started, and then we were able to bring some other folks in.
Right.
For sure. Did you have some?
I don't know.
No, that
I might have.
Great.
Forgot.
Charlie kind of gave us a good background as far as that goes too, kind of similar stuff
Mm-hmm.
to what you had, of course. And something that's, struck both me for sure, and I think I speak for Mike here, as well here too, is just like, since you guys reached out to us and we connected about doing this and helping you guys promote it, it's just like really opened my eyes for sure, to how close to home this type of thing is, because it's not really something that I had put much thought into, honestly, up to this point, and, you know, digging in and doing some of the research and stuff. And for anybody out there listening to this, I just really hope that, you know, it's a lot. I really hope that anybody out there can listen and kind of maybe go do some research for their own self, and they'll I'm sure they'll, you know, come to realize that this type of thing is a lot closer to home than they might think. And even if it's not opioid addiction, that's you know, just addiction in general, I'm sure that everybody can probably find a way to relate to that, and has had that unfortunately touch their life in some way. So the just the overall ability to spread awareness to this issue is, I think, probably the biggest factor here in making a difference. And I think that you guys are just doing an incredible job of doing that with your organization, and obviously with the music festivals. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. You know, it's something that can touch any and every community, you know, in some way, and it's non-biased. You know, it's not racially specific, it's not gender specific, it's not age specific, you know, class specific, whatever. You know, it's something that can touch anybody anywhere. So, and you know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say one thing we kind of learned more about yesterday, kind of after our call with Charlie, is how targeted like the pharmaceuticals were with like where they introduced this and how they introduced it to deceive people and to make money, and then just it, like you said, it's not specific to age, gender, or race, but they introduced it targeted in a targeted fashion, and then it just spreads through the community. And then kind of what you guys are doing here is like, as a community, standing up and saying no, like, you know, actually doing something about that, you know, because it can make it seems so like, I don't know, the way it moves through Appalachia and how overwhelming it has been, it makes it seem like, you know, the community can feel helpless when you're losing people around you all the time. And it just seems like you guys have a solid foot in the ground, and building the community back up to kind of battle back against that. And yeah.
It's certainly something like, especially like the mining communities and things like that of West Virginia and Eastern Kentucky and things, you know, and there were certainly, I feel, targets or, you know, places where they were, you know, Big Pharma was able to come in and realize and incentivize people, you know, these doctors to, you know, open-handedly prescribe these things. And at first, you know, everybody's story, which you'll find through the stream that we have, some really, you know, touching interviews with folks, and, you know, how it gets a hold of somebody can be, you know, wealth of different things. Could be an injury. It could be, you know, introduced through, you know, a younger party atmosphere, and everything's real easy at first, you know, and then slowly creeps up on you or whatever. But the accessibility and some of the stuff with, like you said, the Big Pharma, the pill mills, and the accessibility it had, and then, you know, where the blame goes, it's really a spider web of things. Really
Absolutely. And something I definitely wanted to ask you in particular is just, you know, because you obviously have some incredible artists on your roster at Whizbang, and I'm sure everybody out there listening is big fans of all of your artists on the roster. And they've obviously been a big part of what you're doing with the music festival in particular. I just maybe wanted you to speak a bit on kind of how that all came to be. Was it something that you guys approached them with, or have they really, you know, wanted to have a hand in this from day one and really stepped up to the plate themselves, in that sense, to really be involved and help out with this?
Yeah, I mean, especially Tyler in particular, you know, he, like I said, the rest of us that are from around that area has seen it run rampant through, you know, friends, family, everything. So it's certainly something that's definitely meaningful to Tyler. And when we brought this to him, he was on immediately. and whatever he could do to support. And the first one we did one, the first one was 2018. And, the idea behind it initially was to have this work hand in hand with Tyler and have Tyler kind of headline the event every year, because he was able to use his platform and his rising popularity at that point to bring awareness, which is what we kind of need. We need folks that maybe have a platform to stand on, or have a voice that might be getting a voice that can reach more folks than maybe what we could do just as an organization starting in West Virginia. Having someone, a champion like Tyler, to get up in the forefront of it, and to kind of help lead that charge and let folks know, that was kind of key to this. I think the success of Healing Appalachia to date. Certainly he's been a big part of it. And obviously, Arlo McKinley is one of ours as well. And he's a big supporter of this as well. And hopefully, I think that's the great part, is where, music can affect everybody. Everybody loves music, and it's something that is part of our daily lives, in some form or fashion, every single day. So, having that meld those two, and the live music and the music side of things can be fun, loving, and, another thing, but also the seriousness of it and the way they can run rampant through those kind of people as well. So
of course, yeah,
and it's certainly something that's not out of Tyler's nature to get involved in the community. You see almost every year there's something new that he's getting involved in Kentucky with the water crisis that was going on the other year too.
Martin County Water Drive we did. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Just seems like he's always finding ways to get involved and helping where he's from.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys. You got to kind of start what you know and where you're from, and I think you could kind of hope that you can spark something elsewhere to maybe make another community or another person kind of get that drive and understand, like, we can make a change in some form of, in some way, regardless how small it has to be. But that's one of the things I love about this too. We like to focus on homebound kind of things, because this is where we're from. This is what we love, and who we represent ourselves as. So, and
that's kind of exactly right. Is that opioid crisis and Appalachia is obviously a big issue there, but the music, and every community has its own issues that can be talked about and helped with, and music is something that's pretty universal. And Tyler's got a lot of fans over there. All those guys have a lot of fans over there, but they also have a lot of fans everywhere across America, across the globe too. And it's just something that could be modeled pretty well, is using something like this music to bring people together and raise awareness. So I think it's really cool how you guys are starting to look out too at how can we affect other communities positively with this same structure. So I think it'll strike a chord with our listeners too, like get people thinking, how could something like this happen where I live, So that's a really cool thing to think about too. So if you're listening, there you go.
Absolutely. For time here. Sorry guys, I can cut this.
About 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. I guess one of the last things before we wrap things up, I'd like to ask Ian is, I guess if you were to maybe pick out a few things, obviously the music festival is a huge part of what you guys do, but if there's anything in particular that people may not be totally aware of. We talked to Charlie a bit about you guys' music program that you guys do. Is there anything that you'd like to maybe highlight that people might be unaware of, a specific contribution or something that you guys do in particular that you really feel passionate about or are really proud of in particular?
Yeah, well, one of the things we do as Hope in the Hills is we try to be kind of a grant-based organization and nonprofit. We don't actively run a recovery service. We don't do anything personally our board hands-on. What we like to do is help fund organizations, things like that are doing the groundwork and the boots on the ground. And we've contribute to needle exchange programs, or there's some really, you know, when we started, we're only a couple years old, you know, to date. So with the funds that we raise, we try to redistribute that through different places around. So Recovery Point in Huntington and West Virginia, and the first year Recovery Point, and then the Healing Place, which is based out of Louisville. You know, from that first concert, we were able to supply a bed for 1 year for a person so they would, you know, for zero money on their part. You know, we were able to dedicate at least one bed at both of those. And, you know, Recovery Point, they have multiple facilities around West Virginia, but we were able to visit those places. And, you know, these are people that are putting the work in, and that's who we want to try to help support, build up, bring attention to. And that we hope that, you know, through the concert things, we're able to raise money through this, you know, popular music, concerts, fun stuff, and then be able to distribute that money to folks who are actually doing and running these organizations. And these, you know, they can be really, really small things too, like Lily's Place in West Virginia as well, which, you know, goes towards children affected or born into addiction.
Right.
And it can touch so many different factors of people's lives, young and old, even people who didn't, you know, just a kid. And I'm, you know, sorry, I get kind of hung up on some stuff there, but you know, that's what we try to do. We try to like build up folks, and also we want to also be a resource in terms of, you know, have things laid out for people that regardless where you are. Again, I know we're focused in Appalachia right now, but I think you said early on too there, Garrett, we want this to grow, or this model to grow and spread across, you know, America, and be able to do this thing, you know, further. But, you know, kicking it off where we're from right now is the focus, and hoping it grows.
And one thing that you said there, when you were talking about, you know, funding a bed for a year or in a treatment center, people, I don't know if everybody understands how much that costs, like, and the affordability of that for somebody who would need it, with an addiction problem. And I know Garrett had a decent stat from Canada, and I might butcher it a little bit, but it was like for a 6-week program, was it, Garrett?
Yeah. So I spoke with a few here in Alberta, and one in particular. So actually something pretty cool that the Alberta government here last fall introduced is any recovery center that's funded by Alberta Health Services, beds are now free, in the sense that there is no cost to somebody who is seeking treatment. But in turn, that also means that wait lists are incredibly long to get into these centers. But there is still like partially privately funded, meaning partially privately funded centers, treatment centers, which means that they still do get some funding from the government, but they, on the other hand, they are often like much larger facilities, so they have to, you know, take donations and things like that, of course, to cover the costs for everything else. And the 42-week program at one of the treatment centers, it costs for, and this is obviously Canadian dollars, but it was about 14,500, I think it was per person, which is staggering, pretty staggering number.
It said what, 1 out of every 10 people that walk through that door can't afford it. So 9 out of every 10 can't even afford.
Yeah, one in 5.
1 in 5.
1 in 5 applicants.
See, that's why I wanted you to take it. I knew I'd butcher it. 1
in 5 applicants are able to afford the treatment, which is pretty.
And you want,
pretty crazy.
You don't want something like money to hold somebody back from being able to like really make that change, because usually you'll see if it's one of the things that, from what I've, you know, understood and by talking to folks, you know, when you find it in yourself, or you find that reason to go get help, then you don't want something like that holding you back. So if we can go to provide and have these facilities in place to be able to act on that, then we need to do everything we can to help support that.
Definitely. And I like what you said there about, you know, you can have the festival and the fun stuff and everything, and that's great. But going back to something we kind of talked about earlier, just the awareness itself. Like if anybody out there listening to this podcast just goes ahead and, does some research for themselves, whether it just be raising awareness themselves and kind of educating themselves, and then they can kind of spread that on to their friends and family. Like that's the very least they can do. But definitely the next step would be to maybe have a look at some potential places in your area out there listening that could use your help, whether it be big or small contributions. Anything helps.
And one thing Charlie was talking to us about, he said that kind of stuck with me after we got off our recorded call last night was, if in doing this giveaway that we're doing the podcast that we're doing, this cooperation thing that we had that we're doing right now, if and the outcome is one person gets treatment, one person recovers, and that one life gets saved, then it's all worth it. Just one, and that kind of stuck with me. I was like, that's an impact on that's a person's life that's they've gotten back. And
that's a life, man. Exactly right.
Yeah. Oh, it's not an easy conversation. It's not a fun conversation, but it's a pretty important one. And we're pretty honored to be a part of helping you guys promote this and just spread the word. So thanks to you guys. We really appreciate it. And thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Thanks again for the support on your side too. Raising awareness is one of the biggest things, and making it not so taboo or, it's an ugly thing, but it's not something we should ignore and gets, swept under the rug. It's an epidemic. There's a reason they use that word, and it's a crisis. So, thanks guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Welcome back in, everybody. Switching it up once again. Chatting with us now is Arlo McKinley, one of our favorite artists over here at Hippies and Cowboys, of course. And we're really happy to have you on, Arlo, to talk about this important stuff. We've been through conversations, obviously, with Charlie Hatcher and Ian Thornton, both of whom you work with both on a music level and, of course, with Healing Appalachia and everything that we're doing this podcast to promote and spread awareness for. So we really appreciate you doing this. And we've talked a lot about, the importance of spreading awareness about the opioid epidemic and, just some of the work that Hope in the Hills and Healing Appalachia, some of the things that they aim to do with their organizations and, of course, the festival. And it's going to be really interesting, I think, for everybody out there to hear kind of an artist's perspective as someone who both is involved with the charity and with the festival, of course. So thanks for doing this. Like we said, it's not an easy conversation, but it's a very important one. And hopefully, in doing this, it'll kind of, as we've said, kind of the running theme through all of these conversations has been, if anybody out there listening to this can kind of go down the rabbit hole and do some research for themselves and help spread that awareness and, maybe contribute in some way, then that's the goal here. And hopefully we can change, make some change, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you having me on to talk about it, man. And it means a lot to me. It's always nice to talk to you guys. So, So thanks for having me on. Yeah.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime, man. Yeah. Maybe a good place to start, I guess, kind of how we've been starting all these conversations is just, if you want to just give everybody a bit of background information and some context as to how you got involved with Healing Appalachia in particular, and just, I guess, what's your connection to the festival and its goals. Yeah, its significance, of course, what all that means to you, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got involved with it through my managers, Ian, Thornton, and Charlie, who you spoke to. And Charlie, they're both, I don't know, they were on the board, are on it. They kind of help organize it and stuff. And it was just something even prior to knowing them, it's a situation, it's a cause, it's a problem that's been, a constant theme in my life for the past however many years, whether it's friends or whether it's myself or whether it's whoever, just people that I know. And I think, so I got involved. I was instantly attracted to the idea. I was of it. It was something that I wanted to participate in, and I don't know. I just think for me, it's more of just bringing just more awareness to it, and an open dialogue about the whole situation, and helping others realize too that they're not going through it alone, and just things like that are kind of why I like to be involved in it, is mainly just to show people that there are people there that will try to help them get to where they need to be, or even sometimes all you need is someone to listen. And there's there's people, because a lot of people look at this like situation and drug use and all that. It does, it usually starts as a recreational thing and stuff like that. But what I think a lot of people don't really realize is that most of the people that end up, losing their lives or losing years or time to all this, it's not like they're waking up in the morning and they're happy about it. It's not like they're like, this is great. Like, I love that I have to go score this first thing in the morning. It's not. So it's the stigma that goes along with it that I would like to see, just really disappear from the discussion. It doesn't, that's people, and it's usually from people that have no experience with it whatsoever. So I think when people that are going through it or get to talk to someone else that has and has experienced similar things, it makes it a little easier. So that's my main reason for wanting to be involved, is just to say, hey, I've been there, and so we're all the same. So
And going off to that too. Like you said, sometimes you just need someone to listen, and we've said, throughout these three kind of discussions with you guys, it's not an easy topic to talk about, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but there are, just you yourself as an artist, being involved, coming on here and talking with us about it, and it's drug talk is not something you've really ever shied away with, even in your music, but I think just people hearing you being open about it, and also that you're willing to listen, that can go a long way also with people who are, who need to hear it,
right,
or need somebody to talk to. So I think that's one of the cool parts about this whole thing with Healing Appalachia and tying it into music is, hey, my favorite artists are out here and they're talking about it and they're wanting to make a difference. And I think it's just cool that you're in there spearheading with, along with them and coming on here and talking to us. I think it'll go a long way with the people who need to hear it, or people who are just wanting to get involved themselves.
Right. And yeah, and that's the point. And a lot of times I don't really like get him. There's not a whole lot of things that I'm involved in like this. I usually keep music, and that's it. And I just kind of, just keep it as a personal thing and all that. But it's just that it was something that was this was as personal to me as music. And like you said, I don't, I'm very open about my life, what I've gone through my music. You listen to it, you obviously know. So it just went hand in hand with what I was doing already. So if I could in any way contribute to this, to the festival, to the organization in any way, then I'm always going to be willing to do so. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think something that's important, like, again, it's kind of another kind of running catchphrase. People are going to be tired of me saying it, but I'm going to say it a little differently this time. It's just like, if anybody listening out there I think it's important what you said about just even being there for listening. I think something that people can take away from this is just how easy it is to make a difference in somebody's life, whether they're struggling with addiction or whether it just be raising awareness, because those are pretty simple things to do, is being there to, being there to listen for somebody, or, educating your friends and family about this problem, and encouraging them to be there to listen and that type of thing, because that's, I'm, at least I would assume that's probably oftentimes one of the first steps to recovery, is just opening up to somebody, right?
I believe so. I think it's 100% one of the very first steps. I think the first step is kind of realizing that you're not where you want to be, and then it's when you realize that you kind of think, okay, now the next step is talking to someone about it, and I believe that is the hardest part of it, is being able to reach out to someone and talk about it. There's a lot of like shame and whatever comes along with it. Like there's a lot of stuff that we do, and people who have these issues, do that they're not proud of. So they know that if they're really going to turn things around, they're going to have to face some of these situations. And but it doesn't matter, you're facing them. So so it really is. It's just having someone to talk to about it. That is the first step. I think that's what I said when I played it last year, or it would have been, I guess, the year before, because last year there wasn't any show. Yeah. But
2019.
Yeah, right. So I played it, and that's what I think I said something along the lines of that when I was playing on stage, because I just I knew that was going to be a tough day. I had just recently buried my best friend. It's the guy that Ghost of My Best Friend has written about, and so I'm holding a picture of him up there, talking to the crowd, and just saying that was the point that I was trying to get across that day, is that look at everyone around us. There's thousands of people there. I was like, we're all the same. Everybody's going through the same thing. So, and that's just always the point for me, is that it's not, I don't know. It's not a thing to be beating yourself up about if you're really trying to go and get the help for it. And, whatever people, I don't know, just take the steps to do it. If that's what you're trying to do, or if that's at the spot you're at, because there are people who are definitely willing to help and wanting people to come to them to help. So and that's why I got to give high praise to Charlie Hatcher, because he's one of those guys. Like, he'll talk to anyone. He'll talk to any stranger about it. Like, I know for a fact he is that guy that will do anything for anyone if they're struggling in that little realm of the world. I don't care if he knows you're not. I've seen it, so I know he does it. So it's just, I don't know. And plus, seeing him, so passionate over something, just the way I know Charlie. And when I see something that means so much to him, it's kind of hard for me not to get behind him. Just the way that he is. So, but yeah, I think that's what we're all just trying to do, is just raise awareness, let everyone know they're not alone about it, and try to entertain while we're doing it. And, see what the outcome is.
And I'll bring something up here. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but here just recently, I think it's the last music video you released of "She's Always Around" is kind of dedicated to that theme also through the video. And I know in the description there's a link to donate to Hope in the Hills also on that, which is really cool. And the first time I watched the video, I was just listening to the song because I liked the song, and then it didn't even click, the powerful, the power behind the video. So that's a really well done video, and something that, I don't know, maybe people should check out too, because it's got the message aligns with that. So I don't know if you want to talk about what went into that process of.
It was just kind of, I'll run through the basics of it, because I still like kind of people to kind of figure it out a little bit, but you obviously get it. I don't know. It's just it's just the song. The song is what it is. It's the she is not really. The she may not. The she may be a something, and but yeah, the video is just me. Driving around looking and trying to find whatever, and it goes on and on. But it's I don't know. I just thought it was a good chance for me to put that little little spot on the YouTube thing where you could donate to that, because it is a fitting, song for what it is, because that song, it really is. And kind of one of the things is, even when, you do put that stuff behind you, it's always just, it's never, it's something that you live with for the rest of your life. And it becomes a thing. And that's another thing that people, I think, sort of have to come to, terms with, is that you're not going to get rid of it completely. You just have to learn to, to live with it, and, try to avoid it, and find other things to fill what it is. Cause usually you're trying to numb something if you get to that anyway. So it's really, I think, getting down to what's really stopping you from, being the real you. It's facing situations that you've maybe been putting off for a while or something. I don't know. It's different for everyone, I guess, but that's my experience with it, at least. So
For sure.
Well, thanks for sharing that inside.
Yeah.
There, scoop to that. Yeah.
Something that makes a lot of sense to me, and I mean, is pretty obvious through the music festival and stuff, but I just think it's a great way to reach people, to put on the festival, and and do things like you did with the music video, obviously, because music is universal, whether you have went through some of these things yourself or not. Music, and becoming aware of these problems, has a way of bringing empathy out, regardless of whether or not you've been part of a situation like that or not. And music has an ability to kind of heal people and tell a story, and raise that awareness and heal people, and make people kind of connect in a different way to some of these situations. So I guess, I don't know if you want to speak on that at all, just being able to kind of contribute your art for songwriting and storytelling for a good cause, and hopefully to reach people. I mean, it's kind of what we've been talking about, but
yeah,
I don't know if you have anything to comment on top of that.
Yeah, a couple of things, really, like, I kind of, that's sort of why I play music anyway, is to sort of, just to get things out of me that I'm not that good on speaking of, that I know that other people are probably going to relate to as well. Also already. So it kind of just goes in, that's already what I like to do. But what I think is good about, doing the festivals and, bringing the music to it is, it is a healing thing, but it also brings people out who are just fans of the music, and put something in front of them. They're going to festival, maybe not really knowing what it's about, who are fans, and then it brings awareness to those people. So I think doing something like that, like when, of course, not everyone there is, facing these issues or whatever. So some people are just buying tickets to a show who are going to be, turned on to what the core issue is that we're trying to, address. And I think that's what's good about, artists who have, like Brian Fallon came out, Tyler Childers, Sonora, when we all came together and did it that last year. I thought that was good. I thought it was a great thing, because, it's, just because there's going to be people coming out for just the music. And I think leaving with a little bit more knowledge about a situation that they may not know so much about. So
absolutely. Yeah. I guess if there's, before we wrap things up, first of all, thanks again for kind of sitting down and doing this, and sharing some of these stories, some of these experiences, some of your knowledge on the situation and the issues that Hope in the Hills and Healing Appalachia are trying to address. And I guess if there's any significant, because obviously we talked a lot about the festival, we talked about a lot about their music. If there's anything significant that you can think of that you've been able to contribute that you're particularly proud of, maybe just tell us a bit about that. I don't know.
I think it's really just, I think I told Charlie, I think the thing I'm just most proud of it that I told Charlie that I will play this festival, for as long as it goes. It's just something that I believe in that much. And I don't know. It's just some music is a job and all that. And it is what it is, but there's still, it's life. We're all just, at the end of the day, we're all just people, and it's these kind of situations. And especially like a lot of my fans, I know, go through this kind of stuff. So I want to be as connected to all of them as I can. So, I got to sit back and say that I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm proud of myself or whatever, but I want to be that, artist that really does connect with someone. If I'm talking to you at a show, or if we're talking about something, like I'm invested in that conversation, like what we're talking about, or, I wouldn't be, taking the time to really have, I don't know. I'm just proud that, to be a part of the whole thing, really. And I'm honored that, that they asked me originally to become part of it. And, it's just something that, I'm more honored to be a part of than, to say I'm proud of myself or anything about, but just being a part of it in general, just makes me feel like I'm giving back to a system, to a thing that that I still have to rely on. I in no way am I going to, sit in line and say that I'm completely fine or anything like that. I don't even care to say it. But it's a struggle. It's life. And so we do what we do. So if I didn't give back to something that has given so much to me already, then I would just, I don't know, I wouldn't be happy about it. I wouldn't be happy with myself. I wouldn't want to be that person. So I'm just happy to get the chance to give back to something that's been similar to other things that have helped me. So,
well, yeah, we're grateful, and I know a lot of other people are too. So, man, thanks again for joining us and doing everything that you do as an artist and everything through this, man. We appreciate the hell out of you.
Dude, thank you, man. I appreciate you guys in a lot of ways.
So,
yeah, same to you guys, man. I appreciate you guys tons.
Well, I guess, on that, well, we don't really have to officially sign off this one, do we? That's kind of...
No, not so much, but I guess thanks again, Arlo. Really appreciate it, man, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks for sharing everything that you sat down and shared with us today.
Yeah, for sure, man. Anytime. Always happy to talk to you guys, man.